Well, hey, good morning, boys and girls. I hope you've had a great week. I'm so glad you're here joining me this morning. And you might know that this is the first Sunday in the month of April. And you guys know exactly what that means, a new element. So, man, I'm so excited for this element because it is the element of the risen King. You guys know April means Easter, and Easter is when we celebrate Jesus' resurrection. And so that's what we're going to talk about this month in different aspects and different ways. But I hope that you're excited for this. I'm really excited for this because this is an awesome element. And so this morning, what I want to talk about on the risen King is that the risen King has always been. Now that's kind of crazy to think about. But before we get going too far into that, I want to show something to you. This is called a rose rock. This is pretty cool. Little rock that you can find in nature. It's actually our state rock. And this rose rock, it has taken an extremely long amount of time to form. And over time they form, they can start to be real small or even real big. This is just a pretty cool one. I like it. I like rocks. This is kind of neat. And so, but there was a time when this rose rock, even though it took a really long time and it's been around a really, really long time, there was a time in history where this did not exist. But our big idea today says that the risen King has always been. And the risen King, if you're not sure, but the risen King, who we're talking about is the Son of God who reigns forever, meaning Jesus. And so this morning, what I want to do is go to our good friend Pastor Steve and see what he has to say about this cool element, and maybe, who knows what he's up to this morning. So let's go to him and see what he's got to say, all right?
Hey boys and girls, it's Pastor Steve and I want to welcome you to today's Big Idea video. Say it with me, Big Idea Video! All right, yeah. Well kids, we are starting off a brand new month studying the element of the risen King. Wow, this is going to be so cool. We're going to be learning some great, cool lessons about Jesus. Now, you might be saying, well, Pastor Steve, I already know quite a lot about Jesus, but I want you to know we're going to focus on some lessons about Jesus that some of you, many of you, may have never known, or if you have learned it once before in the past, it's just going to help you be reminded of how awesome God is. Hey, kids, let me ask you this. What is this that I'm holding? Yes, what an easy question, Pastor Steve. That is your phone. That's exactly right. It is my phone. And I have a phone. Miss Katie has a phone. My girls have phones. And probably all of the grown-up people or close to grown-up people in your family have phones like this too. But did you know phones have not always been like this? Most of you kids watching the video today were born after the creation of phones like this that have beautiful color screens, and it gives you the ability to do all sorts of wonderful, wonderful tasks. For instance, someone just named something that you can do with this phone. Yes, exactly right. You can send someone a text message with a funny picture of cute kittens or cute puppies. Oh my goodness, I can't believe how cute this puppy is, right? Very good. What else can you do with a phone? That's right, you can use it to watch the latest episode of Captain Squishy Poo. How fun, right? You can always find something fun to do and watch on this phone. Okay, let's take another one. What else can you do with a phone? Ah, yes, one of my personal favorites. You can play games. That's right. You can just be sitting here and you can build train stations and you could blow up balloons and you can accomplish all kinds of crazy tasks on games that you can play right here on this phone. But you know, the one thing that I didn't hear anyone say you could do with this phone is talk to someone. You know, the original point of the phone was to dial numbers by pushing buttons, and it makes a connection across wires that allows you to talk to someone very, very far away. Now, with these phones, there are no wires. It just sends the signal up into space and it bounces off of satellites, and magically, it seems, you can actually talk to someone else. Well, now what I've got here on this table is an antique of sorts. Certainly most of you kids would say, what is that crazy looking thing? Well, this is actually a phone. This is a telephone that was created before there were phones like this. Yes, there are days in our history not too long ago that the only purpose for a phone was to make a phone call. Yes, that's right. So let's just call someone right now. Boop, 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 boop. I pushed in the numbers, called the phone number, not just a picture of someone, and it rings, ring, 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 and it rings, ring, 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 and someone will answer. Oh, hey, how's it going? This is me, Pastor Steve. I'm just doing a video here for the kids, so I can't talk to you long, but I just wanted to demonstrate how the phone used to work. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. So, you see, you could use the phone only really for that one purpose. Now, the phone is not something that was invented just maybe 20 or 30 years ago, but the phone was actually invented back in the 1880s. Alexander Graham Bell is the one who's credited with the invention of the phone. He invented the phone just based on his desire to improve the telegraph. He was the one that put together the first phone call where he actually spoke to someone through a connection of a phone. But there are many people who credit earlier inventors with the creation of the phone back in the 1600s. Oh yes, back in those days, those very, very basic devices were called mechanical acoustic devices. So do you think you could play games, send text messages, or watch videos online on the mechanical acoustic device of the 1600s? That'd be a big, big no. Let's all say no together on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. No, 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 no. That's right. We had to let technology increase. So the phones that we have had in the world have taken on many different shapes, and they've all had that one purpose, for you to be able to speak to someone far away through that connection. Well, you know, that's really the most important thing that has to do with the phones we have today that you're familiar with. But isn't it interesting that they haven't always been the way they are now? You see, kids, our big idea today says the risen King has always been. So during the history of the world, there hasn't always been a phone at all. And it's only been in the last maybe 15 years that we've had phones like this. The phones that we have not always been, but our King, Jesus, has always been. He has existed since before the beginning of time on earth as we know it. And this is an incredible thing that we need to learn in order to increase our faith in God. So I'm super, super excited about you learning this great lesson about Jesus today. So let's get those Bibles out, let's dig in and learn all we can together right now.
Well, hey, that was a cool video. Man, who knew phones have changed so much over their life? It's pretty neat. I'm glad they are where they are. Well, hey, this morning, kids, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Jesus' birth. Maybe you've heard about it. Maybe you know he's born in a manger in Bethlehem. Maybe not, and that's okay. And we all have a birth story as well. I'm sure after this video, if you want to sit down and talk with your parents, they'd love to tell you some stories about when you were born or when you were a baby. Now, these stories are cool, and it's kind of neat having a baby daughter myself. She's almost 7 months old, and I can think back to the day she was born and some stories that happened then and even in between, and even before she was born that involve her. And I'm sure your parents have some stories like that as well. But here's the thing, those stories, they don't exist a year before you were born, or 10 years before you were born, or even 100 years before you were born. But with Jesus, there are stories about Jesus hundreds and even thousands of years before he was born. This is because our big idea is true. The risen King, Jesus, has always been. And I think to one particular time, there's several examples throughout the Old Testament, but one time in particular is this pretty crazy event that happened where 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, refused to bow down and worship King Nebuchadnezzar. And as a result, as a punishment for their actions, King Nebuchadnezzar throws them into a fiery furnace. And while the three friends are standing in the flames, a fourth individual, Jesus, appears with them in the fire and protects them so that they don't get burnt. They walk out and don't even smell like smoke. That's a pretty cool story. Pretty cool true event even. And this is just one of many examples of where Jesus, we see him in the Old Testament. Hundreds and even thousands of years before he was born in Bethlehem. This helps validate our big idea this morning, that the risen King has always been. And what I want to do is I want to look in the New Testament to the book of John. So if you will grab your Bible with me, and we're going to read out of John. Now John is in the New Testament. It's the Gospel of John. So it means it's one of the first four books of the New Testament: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. All of them are Gospels, meaning they tell the story of Jesus. And in John chapter 1, if you want to read along with me, it says this: "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning." Now, I know you might be confused here, and that's okay. We're talking about the risen King, Jesus, and yet these first two verses say nothing about Jesus. But I want you to notice something interesting. Every time we see the word "word" here, it's capitalized, meaning it has the big W at the start. And this is the same with all names. The first letter is always capitalized. And what John is doing here is he's using the word, as a name for Jesus. And so if we substitute the word for Jesus, it might make it easier for you to understand. So let's read it again with doing that. "In the beginning was Jesus, and Jesus was with God, and Jesus was God." He was with God in the beginning. Now, what this is talking about is Jesus didn't just start existing. He didn't come alive at his birth in Bethlehem over 2,020 years ago. Jesus has always been. It means he has existed from the beginning of time, before time itself. What John's saying here is he's pointing to the reality that he has created everything. That's what he says there in verse 3 even. Everything that has been created was created by Jesus. From the people like us, to animals like dogs and zebras and grizzly bears and dinosaurs and plants like flowers and trees, to mountains, to the stars and the planets in the universe. Jesus has always been, and he has created all of that. But if we go on in verses 4 and 5, he says this: "In him," meaning Jesus, "was life. And that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." See, what John is talking about here is this reality that we all have sinned. And if you remember, a sin is anything we think, say, or do that goes against God's standard. And because of this sin creates a darkness within us and within our world. But Jesus, when he came 2,000 years ago, he came to bring light to that darkness, to bring hope that we would not be overcome and controlled by sin, but we can have victory over it. And it speaks to him being like a light in the darkness. And we live in a time where we have cool electricity, where we can flip a switch and lights come on in a room. We have lights on our cell phones. We have like flashlights. Like, check out this flashlight. It's really bright. Right? But I don't think Jesus was talking, or John was talking about that kind of light. See, I can light up this flashlight, but if I hand it off to somebody, I lose my light. What I think John is talking about here is maybe something more like a flame. See, if Jesus is the light, like a flame, and we get close to Jesus, we begin to share his light with him. And that light we can take and share with others. And this is an important thing for us to understand. Jesus isn't the only one shining light. When we put our faith in Jesus, when we believe in him, when we live our life for him, we begin to shine a light of his within us and through our life. And we take that light into the dark world so others can see it. It illuminates life for people around us. Verses 9 through 12, Jesus is talked about in this way, and he says this, that John says this: the true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, but through the world was made, or though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. And what he's talking about there is simply that when Jesus came, he came to shine this light. But people didn't recognize that light. They didn't recognize him as being light, and they kind of even rejected him. But here's a really cool truth, kids. I want you to listen really carefully to this last verse. Verse 12 of John chapter 1. Yet all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Boys and girls, there's a very important truth in that message. When you put your faith, when you believe in Jesus that he is the risen King, that light is yours. You become a son or a daughter of God. You become a prince or a princess of the King of the universe. And this morning, if you've never made a decision to believe in God, I want you to talk to your parents about what that looks like after this. And I really want you to think about that decision. Maybe you have believed in God and you do believe in God. And I just want to ask you a question. Are you shining the light of Jesus? Do others see Jesus through you? Through what you say, through what you do, through how you obey and interact with your parents? I want you to think on that this morning, kids. Because here's the truth. Jesus, our risen King, has always been. Meaning he has never been started and he will never end. He is forever. And there's hope in that truth because he has died for your sins, for my sins. And that creates an opportunity where we can stay with him forever in heaven. So kids, this morning, this week, I want you to think on this truth. That Jesus is the risen King. And he always has been. And he always will be. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you so much for this day. We thank you for your word. We thank you for your sacrifice for us. We thank you for the ability that you came and you brought light to us. And that we were able to possess that light and share that light with those that we love. Father, help us to do that. Help us to share your love and your light with those around us. Help us to live in a way where people see you through us. And God, if there's anyone here this morning that has not made a decision to believe in you, that has not become a child of yours, God, right now I ask that you would speak to them and reveal what that would look like. In your name we pray. Amen. Hey kids, I hope you have a great week. Make sure to talk with your parents. Find out some cool stories about when you were a baby, right? And hey, if you have any questions about what it means to believe in Jesus or to follow him, make sure you talk with your parents about that, all right? Have a great week, kids. We'll see you later.